The mining station on asteroid X-47 was the loneliest place in the galaxy, or at least that was what Jake thought as he fixed another broken drill for the 10th time that week. He had been here for 3 years now, far from Earth and far from anyone. Who cared whether he lived or died? The only sounds were the hum of machines and the occasional crack of his knuckles as he worked. Jake was 28 years old with brown hair that he kept short because the station had no barber. He had come here to make money to send back to his sick mother on Earth, but she had died 6 months ago, and he had not told anyone. He just kept working because he did not know what else to do. The station was owned by the Galactic Mining Corporation and employed about 50 humans who worked in shifts. Jake worked the night shift, which meant he was usually alone in the repair bay. The robots helped him, but they were not much for conversation, even though he talked to them anyway. "Hello, Bernie," he said to the repair robot as it handed him a wrench. "Thank you for your help today." The robot beeped in response, which Jake liked to think meant "you are welcome." That night started like any other, until the lights flickered and went out completely. This had never happened before. The emergency power kicked in, casting everything in a red glow that made the shadows look alive. Jake stood up from his work and listened. There was a sound like wind, but that was impossible since they were in the vacuum of space. Then he saw her. She walked through the wall like it was made of mist. Her hair was silver and fell to her waist, moving as if she was underwater. Her skin had a soft blue glow that pushed back the red emergency lights. She wore armor that looked like it was made from starlight, and her eyes were violet like nothing Jake had ever seen. 3 small creatures flew around her shoulders. At first, Jake thought they were birds, but then he saw the scales and wings. Dragons, tiny dragons, no bigger than cats, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 green. They moved through the air like they were swimming, leaving trails of sparkles behind them. Jake dropped his wrench and it clattered on the metal floor, breaking the silence. "Do not be afraid, human," the woman said. Her voice was musical, like several people singing in harmony. "I am Luna of the Altaria Prime Warrior caste. I have come for you." Jake backed up until he hit the workbench behind him. "For me?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Why would you come for me?" Luna stepped closer, and her dragons spread out, circling Jake like they were examining him. The red one got close to his face and sniffed him. Its breath was warm and smelled like cinnamon. "I have been watching you, Jake Carter," she said, using his full name. "You are different from the other humans here. You show kindness to machines, you work with patience and care. You speak to the robots as if they have souls." Jake swallowed hard. "How long have you been watching me?" 3 months, Luna replied. "I needed to be sure you were the right one." The right one for what Jake asked, even though part of him was afraid to know the answer. Luna reached into a pouch at her side and pulled out a crystal. It was about the size of a golf ball and pulsed with white light. That seemed to have a heartbeat. The dragons all turned to look at it and made soft singing sounds. "This is a bonding crystal," Luna explained. "It has not been given to a human before. My people believe your species is too young, too violent, too unpredictable, but I have seen something different in you." Jake stared at the crystal. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "What does it do?" "It will change you," Luna said simply. "It will give you abilities that no human has ever had. You will be able to speak any language in the galaxy. You will see in perfect darkness. You will understand the thoughts of dragons, and most importantly, you will be able to help me save both our species. Save them from what Jake asked." Luna looked sad for the first time. "From the darkness that is coming. The Void Hunters have awakened after sleeping for 1,000 years. They consume entire planets, and they are heading this way. The Galactic Council is divided and weak. They need something new, something unexpected. They need a human who can unite the species." Jake laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "I am just a mechanic. I fix things. I am nobody special." "That is exactly why you are perfect," Luna said. "The prophecy speaks of an ordinary one who will become extraordinary, a bridge between the old and the new." "What prophecy?" Jake asked, but Luna shook her head. "There is no time to explain everything. The choice must be yours, and it must be made now." Luna held out the crystal to him. "Take this, and your life will never be The same refuse and I will leave and never return. You will continue your life here, fixing machines until you die. Alone. Jake looked around the repair bay. This was his whole world now. Tools and broken equipment and robots that could not really talk. Back. The red emergency lights made everything look like blood. He thought about his mother and how she had always told him he was meant for something more. He had never believed her. The 3 dragons flew closer to him. The green one landed on his shoulder and he was surprised it weighed almost nothing. It made a purring sound like a cat and rubbed its tiny head against his cheek. That is Garden, Luna said with a small smile. She likes you. That is rare. She usually bites strangers. Jake reached up and carefully petted the little dragon. Its scales were warm and smooth. Garden made a happy chirping sound and the other 2 dragons came closer. The red one landed on his other shoulder, and the blue one hovered in front of his face, looking into his eyes. They are Flame and Storm, Luna said, pointing to each. They are not pets. They are my partners, my family. They have been with me for 50 years. 50 years, Jake said, in shock. But you look like you are 20. Luna smiled. I am 200, and 17 years old. Elves age differently than humans. If you take the crystal, you will age differently too. You will live for centuries, maybe longer. Jake felt his head spinning. This was too much to process. He was being offered immortality and power and adventure, but also danger in the unknown and leaving everything behind. What about my job? Jake asked, then realized how stupid that sounded. Luna actually laughed, a sound like silver bells. The galaxy is about to change forever. Jake Carter. Your job fixing drills will not matter when planets start disappearing. She was right, of course. Jake knew she was right. He had been hiding here on this asteroid pretending his life had meaning when really he was just going through the motions. He had been dead inside since his mother passed. This elf woman was offering him a chance to live again. But there was something else, something Luna was not telling him. He could see it in her eyes, a worry or fear she was trying to hide. What are you not telling me? Jake asked. Luna hesitated, then spoke quietly. My father is watching us right now. Your father is watching us, Jake repeated, feeling his stomach drop. Where is he? Luna gestured toward the ceiling. He is in his cloaked warship just beyond the asteroid field. He forbade me from coming here. He thinks humans are dangerous and unworthy of the crystal. But I had to disobey him. I had to follow what I believe is right. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. So this is some kind of teenage rebellion. You are using me to make your father angry. No, Luna said firmly, her violet eyes flashing. I am 217 years old. I am not a child. But yes, my father and I disagree about humans. He sees only your wars and greed and destruction. I see your potential, your creativity, your ability to hope, even when things are hopeless. The dragons flew in a circle around both of them, creating a barrier of scales and wings. Garden nuzzled against Jake's neck, making comforting sounds. If I take this crystal, Jake said slowly. What happens when your father finds out? He already knows, Luna admitted. He is probably preparing to teleport here right now to stop us. That is why you must decide quickly. Once the crystal bonds with you, it cannot be undone. Even my father cannot reverse it. Jake felt trapped between 2 impossible choices. Stay here and continue his meaningless existence, or grab the crystal and face the wrath of an alien warrior commander who could probably vaporize him with a thought. Tell me about the Void Hunters, Jake said, stalling for time. What are they exactly? Luna glanced at the door as if expecting her father to burst through at any moment. They are older than any civilization we know. They come from the spaces between galaxies where light has never touched. They look like living shadows with teeth and hunger. They destroyed the ancient builder's empire 10,000 years ago, then went dormant. Now something has awakened them. What woke them up? Jake asked. We do not know, Luna said. But they are moving toward inhabited space, eating small moons and asteroids. For now, soon they will be strong enough to consume planets. The Galactic Council has weapons, but they are divided. 7 species all arguing about who should lead, who should sacrifice, what should be done. And you think one human with a magic crystal can fix that? Jake said, not hiding his disbelief. Not fix Luna, corrected Unite. The prophecy says the bridge between worlds will gather the seven flames and stand against the dark. But first that person must be brave enough to accept their destiny, Jake was about to respond when the air in the room suddenly became thick like trying to breathe soup. A tall figure materialized in the center of the repair bay, and Jake knew immediately this was Commander Zephyr, Luna's father. He was 7 feet tall, with the same silver hair as his daughter, but his was cut short in military style. His armor was definitely liquid, metal, flowing and shifting like mercury. His violet eyes were hard as diamonds, and they were locked on Jake, with an expression that could freeze blood step away from the human Luna. Her father commanded. His voice was deep and resonated in Jake's chest, like standing too close to a subwoofer. Luna moved to stand between Jake and her father. No, father. I will not abandon this mission. You gave me your word that I could choose my own path when I reached my 2nd century. That was before you decided to give our most sacred relic to a primitive species. Zephyr said. He pulled out a weapon that looked like a sword made of condensed starlight. Do you know what the other council members will do when they learn of this? They will do nothing, Luna said with confidence. Because when they see what Jake becomes, they will understand that humans are not primitive. They are just young. There is a difference. Zephyr laughed, but there was no humor in it. This human probably does not even know about the 7 species of the council. He probably thinks Earth is special instead of the backwater planet. It really is. Jake felt his anger override his fear. Actually, I do know about the council, he said, stepping out from behind Luna. There are the Altarians like you. The Draconids, who are basically space dragons. The Mechanoids, who are living machines. The Crystallines, who are silicon. The Aquatics, who come from ocean worlds. The Hive, who share a collective mind. And humans who just joined 50 years ago. Both Luna and Zephyr looked surprised. How do you know this? Zephyr asked suspiciously. Humans are not supposed to have this information. I read, Jake said simply. The station has a digital library that nobody else uses. I have read everything about the galaxy, the council, the history. I know about the 3 galactic wars. I know about the peace accords of Sigma 7. I know. We are considered the newest and weakest species. Luna turned to look at Jake with new respect. You studied our history. I had a lot of time alone, Jake said with a shrug. And I wanted to understand why everyone looks down on humans. Zephyr lowered his sword slightly but did not put it away. You read some files that does not make you worthy of the crystal. Do you even understand what it will do to you? Jake shook his head honestly. No. But Luna said it would help save the galaxy from the Void Hunters. If there is even a small chance that is true, then I have to try. My mother always said that the biggest risk in life is not taking any risks at all. Zephyr studied Jake for a long moment. The dragons had gone very still, watching the commander carefully. Finally, he spoke. You remind me of someone who Jake asked myself, Zephyr said quietly. When I was young and foolish and thought I could save everyone. He looked at his daughter, Luna. Gets her stubbornness from me, I suppose. Does that mean you will let me take the crystal? Jake asked hopefully. Zephyr shook his head. It means I will test you. If you pass, I will allow it. If you fail, you will probably die, father. No. Luna protested, but Zephyr raised his hand to silence her. This is my compromise, daughter. Either the human proves himself or we leave and never speak of this again. What kind of test? Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Zephyr smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Combat. You will fight me. Jake felt all the blood drain from his face. Fight you. But you are a 200-year-old alien warrior with advanced technology, and I am just a human with a wrench. Exactly, Zephyr said. So you will need to be creative. The commander moved so fast, Jake barely saw him. The sword of light swung toward Jake's head, and he dove to the side, rolling behind a repair bench. The blade cut through the metal like it was paper burny. The repair robot suddenly activated and rolled toward Zephyr. The commander laughed, ready to fight with robots. Human Jake grabbed a plasma cutter from his tool belt and activated it. The blue flame was nothing compared to Zephyr's sword, but it was better than nothing. Think Jake, he told himself. You cannot match him in strength or speed. So what do you have that he does not? The answer came to him. Suddenly, Zephyr was a warrior trained in combat. But Jake was a mechanic who knew every inch of this station. He ran toward the environmental controls, dodging another swing from Zephyr's sword. His fingers flew over the controls, and suddenly the artificial gravity in the room reversed. Zephyr floated up toward the ceiling, caught off guard. Jake had trained in zero gravity and grabbed the handholds on the walls, propelling himself toward the commander. But Zephyr adapted quickly, too quickly. He flipped in midair and kicked Jake in the chest, sending him spinning. Jake crashed into the wall hard enough to see stars. "Is that all you have, human?" Zephyr asked. "Small tricks." Jake wiped blood from his mouth and smiled. "Actually, no." He whistled sharply, and every repair robot in the bay suddenly came to life. They all rolled toward Zephyr at once. Bernie and 7 others. Jake had been kind to them for 3 years, fixing them when they broke, talking to them when he was lonely, and somehow they remembered. The repair robots surrounded Commander Zephyr in a perfect circle. Their mechanical arms extended with various tools. Some held welding torches, others had cutting lasers, and Bernie had somehow found a mining drill that should not have been in the repair bay at all. They did not attack, but they hummed in unison a sound Jake had never heard them make before. Zephyr looked at the robots, then at Jake with something that might have been respect. "You taught them loyalty. That is unexpected." Jake kept his hand on the environmental controls, ready to change the gravity again. "They are not just machines to me. They are my friends." Luna watched from the corner of the room, her dragons circling protectively around her. She had not interfered in the fight, but Jake could see her hands glowing with blue energy, ready to act if her father went too far. "The robots are not attacking," Zephyr observed. "Why? Because I do not want to hurt you," Jake said, surprising himself with his honesty. "I just want you to see that humans can think differently. We do not always solve problems with violence, sometimes we solve them with connection." Zephyr lowered his sword. The starlight blade flickered and went out. "You would spare an enemy who attacked you. You are not my enemy." Jake said, "You are a father protecting his daughter and a commander protecting his people. I understand that, I respect that. But maybe that is what makes humans special. We can see our enemies as people too." The commander was quiet for a long moment, then he laughed. It was a real laugh this time, warm and genuine. "You argue like a philosopher, not a mechanic. My mother was a teacher." Jake said, "She taught me that understanding is stronger than fighting." Zephyr walked through the circle of robots, who parted to let him pass. He stood in front of Jake and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have passed my test." Jake blinked in confusion, "But I did not win the fight." Zephyr smiled. "The test was not about winning. It was about how you would face an impossible situation. You used intelligence instead of brute force. You showed mercy when you had advantage. You protected rather than destroyed. These are the qualities the galaxy needs." Luna ran over and hugged her father, then turned to Jake with excitement in her violet eyes. "I knew you were the right choice." Zephyr pulled out a crystal from his armor, but this one was different from the one Luna had shown. It was larger and multifaceted, reflecting colors that seemed to shift and change. It pulsed with a deeper rhythm, like the heartbeat of a star. "This is not just any bonding crystal," Zephyr said. "This is the prime crystal, one of 7 in existence. It has been in my family for 1,000 generations. I was saving it for a worthy warrior of our own people. But perhaps it is time for new thinking." Jake stared at the crystal, feeling its power even from a distance. "What is the difference between this and a regular bonding crystal?" Luna gasped. "Father, you cannot be serious. The prime crystal is too powerful for a first transformation. It could kill him, or it could make him something unprecedented," Zephyr said. "A human with the power of the ancients, the bridge between worlds." The prophecy spoke of. Jake felt fear and excitement warring in his chest. "What exactly would this crystal do to me?" Zephyr held the crystal up to the light. "It would rewrite your DNA at the molecular level. You would gain the strengths of all 7 council species, the longevity of elves, the strength of draconids, the processing power of mechanoids. The energy manipulation of crystallines, the adaptability of aquatics, the collective awareness of the hive, and you would keep the creativity and determination of humans. That sounds impossible, Jake said. It has never been attempted, Zephyr admitted. The crystals were created by the builders before they disappeared. They left them for a reason. But we never knew why, until now when the Void Hunters have returned. The dragons flew over to Jake and landed on his shoulders. And Hedgarden chirped in his ear, and Jake somehow understood she was saying, "Be brave." "If I do this," Jake said, "what happens next? You would come with us." Zephyr said, "We would train you to use your new abilities. You would meet the other 6 who hold prime crystals, though none of them are human. You would help us unite the council against the Void Hunters. And if I fail?" Jake asked. "If the crystal kills me, then I will tell your story to the council." Zephyr said solemnly, "I will tell them about the human mechanic who was brave enough to try. I will make sure Earth knows you died." A hero, Jake thought about his mother again, about how she had always believed he was meant for something special. He thought about all the nights he had stared at the stars from the observation deck, wondering if there was more to life than fixing machines. He thought about the robots who had just stood up to protect him, even though he had never programmed them to do that. He thought about fear and how it had kept him on this asteroid hiding from life. And he thought about courage and how sometimes it meant grabbing the impossible when it was offered. "I will do it," Jake said. Luna grabbed his hand. "Wait, you need to understand, once you touch the prime crystal, everything changes. You cannot go back to being just human. You will live for thousands of years if you survive. You will watch everyone you knew on Earth grow old and die. You will become something between species, never fully belonging anywhere." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "I already do not belong anywhere. At least this way I might help save everyone." Zephyr nodded with approval. "Then we should begin. The transformation takes time, and we need to be away from the station before the other workers discover us." Jake looked around the repair bay one last time. This had been his world for 3 years. Every tool, every surface, every sound was familiar. He walked over to Bernie and patted the robot's head. "Take care of the others, buddy," he said. Bernie beeped, and for the first time Jake could have sworn it sounded sad. Commander Zephyr placed the prime crystal on a metal workbench. It floated a few inches above the surface, spinning slowly. "When you are ready, place both hands on it, and do not let go no matter what happens. The pain will be significant, but if you release the crystal before the process completes, it will kill you. No pressure then," Jake said with nervous humor. Luna stood on one side of him, and surprisingly, Zephyr stood on the other. "We will anchor you," the commander said. "The crystal will try to scatter your consciousness across space. We will keep you grounded." The 3 dragons positioned themselves around the crystal. Each one began to glow with their respective colors, red, blue, and green. Their light created a triangle pattern in the air that surrounded the crystal. Jake took a deep breath, then another. He thought about every choice that had led him to this moment, every loss, every failure, every small victory. They all seemed to point here to this impossible decision: be brave, human. Luna whispered. Jake reached out and grabbed the prime crystal with both hands. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. It felt like every cell in his body was being pulled apart and reconstructed. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. He could feel his DNA unraveling and reweaving itself into something new. Through the agony, he heard voices. Not just Luna and Zephyr, but others, thousands of others. The collective consciousness of 7 species flooded into his mind. He saw the history of the galaxy through a million different eyes. He felt the fear of planets as the Void Hunters approached. He understood mathematics that humans had not yet discovered, and languages that had been dead for millennia. His body was changing too. He could feel his muscles becoming denser, his bones stronger, his vision expanded beyond the normal spectrum, and he could see colors that had no names. His mind raced faster than any human thought, processing information at quantum speeds, but through it all he held on. His mother's voice echoed in his memories, telling him he was special, telling him to be brave. Luna and Zephyr kept their hands on his shoulders, keeping him tethered to reality. The dragon sang a harmony that somehow made the pain bearable. Time lost all meaning. He might have been transforming for seconds or hours or days. The repair bay faded away and he was floating in a void filled with stars. He saw the void hunters, then massive shadows with tentacles of darkness reaching toward inhabited worlds. They were hunger incarnate, destruction given form. But he also saw hope. 7 lights scattered across the galaxy, each one a prime crystal holder. And now he was one of them, the first human to join their ranks. The vision ended and Jake gasped as he returned to his body. He was on his knees on the floor of the repair bay, Luna and Zephyr holding him up. The crystal was gone, absorbed into his body. "How do you feel?" Luna asked with concern. Jake looked at his hands. They looked the same, but he could see the energy flowing beneath his skin like rivers of light. "Different," he said, and his voice had harmonics now, like multiple people speaking at once. "Stand up, Zephyr," commanded. "Let's see what you have become." Jake stood slowly, and immediately realized everything was different. He could see heat signatures through the walls, count every dust particle in the air, and hear conversations from the other side of the asteroid station. His mind was processing all this information simultaneously without any confusion or overload. The dragons flew around him excitedly, making sounds that Jake now understood perfectly as words. He did it. He actually did it, Flame said in a voice like crackling fire. His aura is unlike anything I have seen, Storm added with a voice like rolling thunder. He smells different but still kind, Garden said in a voice like rustling leaves. Jake looked at Luna in amazement. I can understand them perfectly. That is the gift of the Draconids, Zephyr explained. You now have their ability to communicate with all dragonkind, and that is just one of 7 gifts you have received. Jake walked to a metal wall and placed his hand on it. Instantly he could feel every circuit, every wire, every flow of electricity in the entire station. He could sense the maintenance robots throughout the facility, and somehow he knew they were all aware of him too. The mechanoid gift, Zephyr noted. Technological empathy. You can communicate with and understand any machine. A worker from the day shift was walking down the corridor toward the repair bay. Jake could sense his thoughts, not reading them exactly, but feeling his emotions and intentions. He was worried about a malfunction in Sector 7 and was coming to find someone to fix it. The hive awareness, Luna said. You can sense the collective consciousness around you. Jake picked up a piece of broken metal from the floor and concentrated. Energy flowed from his hand into the metal, reshaping it. He turned it into a perfect sphere, then a cube, then a complex geometric shape that should have been impossible to create by hand. Crystalline energy manipulation, Zephyr said, with clear, impressed tone in his voice. The commander picked up a container of water from Jake's workstation and threw it at him. Without thinking, Jake moved his hand and the water stopped in midair, forming into a floating sphere. He could control every molecule, making it dance and swirl in patterns aquatic. Fluid control, Zephyr said. Then he moved with his enhanced speed to attack Jake. But Jake moved just as fast, blocking the strike with strength that surprised them both. His body had adapted instantly to the threat, becoming stronger and faster as needed. Altarian combat enhancement, Zephyr said, stepping back. And that leaves only one gift left. What is the human gift? Jake asked. I already was human. Zephyr smiled. The human gift is the most powerful of all. It is the ability to combine all the others, in ways that were never intended. The gift of innovation and adaptation. Other species master one thing, but humans find ways to blend everything together. The door to the repair bay opened and 3 workers walked in. They stopped and stared at the scene in front of them. An elf commander in liquid metal armor, an elf woman glowing with blue light, 3 tiny dragons, and Jake standing in the middle, looking mostly human, but somehow completely different. What the hell is going on here? One of the workers demanded. Is this some kind of joke? Jake felt their fear and confusion with his new awareness. He stepped forward and spoke in a voice that carried harmonics of all 7 species. "Do not be afraid. We are leaving, and you will not be harmed." The workers backed away slowly, then turned and ran. Jake could sense them heading for the security office to raise the alarm. "We need to leave now," Luna said. "The entire station will know about us in minutes." Zephyr touched a device on his armor and spoke. "In Altarian, prepare for immediate extraction. 3 to transport 4. Jake corrected and walked over to Bernie, the repair robot who had been watching everything. "Bernie is coming with me." Zephyr raised an eyebrow. "You want to bring a maintenance robot?" "Is my friend Jake," said simply. "And with my new abilities I can upgrade him into something more." Bernie beeped excitedly and rolled closer to Jake. The teleportation beam surrounded them, and Jake felt his molecules scatter and reassemble. It should have been terrifying, but his transformed body handled it easily. They materialized on the bridge of Zephyr's warship, and Jake gasped at what he saw. The ship was massive, with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with energy. The viewing screen showed the asteroid station growing smaller as they moved away at speeds that should have been impossible. "Welcome to the Starforge," Zephyr said. "This is one of only 12 prime vessels in the Altarian fleet." Jake was more interested in Bernie, who was looking around with what could only be described as mechanical wonder. He placed his hands on the robot and let his combined gifts flow through the connection. He could feel Bernie's simple programming and began to enhance it, adding complexity and awareness. "What are you doing?" Luna asked, watching with curiosity. "I am giving him what he deserves," Jake said. A chance to be more energy flowed from Jake into Bernie, and the robot began to change. His simple frame expanded and reformed, becoming more sophisticated. His optical sensors multiplied, giving him true vision. His processing core evolved from basic maintenance protocols to genuine artificial intelligence. When Jake stepped back, Bernie stood taller. His frame was now sleek, chrome with blue energy lines running through it. His optical array glowed with awareness, and for the first time Bernie spoke with a real voice. "Thank you, Jake," he said. "I can think now. I can really think." Jake smiled and patted his friend's shoulder, head. "You always could, buddy. I just helped you express it." Zephyr watched this with amazement. "In 5 minutes you did what our scientists have been trying to do for decades. You created true artificial consciousness." "I combined all the gifts," Jake said. "The mechanoid understanding the crystalline energy, the Altarian enhancement, and the human creativity. They were never meant to work alone." An alarm started blaring, and the viewing screen changed to show dozens of ships appearing around them. They were not Altarian vessels. These were angular and black with weapons already charging. "The Shadow Council," Zephyr cursed. "They must have detected the prime crystal activation. Who are the Shadow Council?" Jake asked. Luna answered with fear in her voice. "They are a group from all 7 species who believe the prime crystal should be destroyed. They think the power is too dangerous. They will try to kill you before you can fully master your abilities." The enemy ships opened fire, and the Starforge shook under the impact. Zephyr took the command chair and began issuing orders in rapid Altarian. Jake understood every word. "Return fire evasive pattern 7, charge the jump drive," he commanded. "We cannot jump for another 10 minutes, Luna said, checking a console. "The Shadow Council is using interdiction fields." Jake felt something stirring inside him. The combined gifts were trying to tell him something. He walked to the center of the bridge and closed his eyes, reaching out with his enhanced awareness. He could feel every ship, every weapon, every energy field in space around them. "I can stop them," Jake said. How Zephyr demanded they have 30 ships, the human gift. Jake replied, "Innovation." He raised his hands and reached out with all 7 gifts at once. He used the hive awareness to link with every system on the Starforge. He used the mechanoid gift to understand the enemy ship's technology. He used the crystalline energy to create a field around their vessel. He used the aquatic control to make space itself flow around them like water. He used the draconid strength to power it all. He used the Altarian speed to process thousands of calculations per second, and he used the human creativity to do something impossible. The space around, the Starforge began to fold. The enemy weapons fire bent away from them, unable to penetrate the warped reality Jake was creating. He was not blocking the attacks, he was redirecting space itself, so the attacks could never reach them. The three dragons flew around Jake, adding their power to his. Their elemental energies merged with his abilities, creating something even greater. Flame gave him passion, Storm gave him change, Garden gave him growth. Bernie connected to the ship's systems and announced, "I can help too, Jake. My new consciousness can interface with the ship, do it," Jake said through gritted teeth. The strain of holding back 30 ships was enormous. Bernie merged with the Starforge, and suddenly, Jake could feel the entire ship as an extension of himself. They were no longer separate entities but one unified force. The Shadow Council ships increased their fire, but nothing could penetrate the reality fold Jake had created. Some tried to ram them physically, but they passed through empty space as Jake shifted the Starforge slightly out of phase with normal reality. "Impossible," one of the enemy commanders transmitted. "This cannot be done." "That is what everyone says about humans." Jake replied, his voice transmitting on all frequencies. "We are impossible. We should not exist. We are too young, too violent, too chaotic. But that is exactly why we will save this galaxy." The jump drive finished charging, and Zephyr looked at Jake with awe. "Where should we go?" "To the other prime crystal holders," Jake said, still maintaining the fold. "We need to unite them all before the Void Hunters arrive." Luna placed her hand on Jake's shoulder, sharing her strength. "I know where 3 of them are. Then that is where we start." Jake said. The jump through hyperspace felt different to Jake now. He could perceive the flowing streams of energy that connected star systems, see the mathematical poetry that held reality together. His transformed consciousness understood the universe in ways that no single species ever could. They emerged near a massive space station that looked like a crystalline flower blooming in the void. This was Convergence Point, the neutral meeting ground for all 7 council species. Luna had explained that 3 of the prime crystal holders were already here, called by the same cosmic awakening that had led her to Jake. "We are being scanned," Zephyr announced. "Multiple ships are converging on our position. Let them come," Jake said calmly. "I want them to see what I have become." The Starforge docked with the station and Jake led the way, with Luna and Zephyr flanking him. Bernie rolled beside them, his new consciousness taking in everything with wonder. The 3 dragons perched on Jake's shoulders, their presence a comfort despite the tension. The council chamber was a massive sphere, with no up or down representatives from all 7 species, floated or stood on platforms that adjusted to their needs. And in the center were 3 beings that Jake immediately recognized as fellow prime crystal holders. The first was a crystalline named Prism, whose body was living diamond that refracted light into rainbows. The second was a draconid called Scorchwing, a massive dragon the size of a shuttle, with scales like molten gold. The third was a mechanoid, designated Unity 7, whose form was constantly shifting configurations of advanced technology. "And you must be the human Prism," said their voice like singing crystal. "We felt your awakening across the galaxy." Jake nodded, approaching them without fear. "I am Jake Carter, and we need to work together if we are going to stop the void." "Hunters," Scorchwing laughed, a sound like distant thunder. "A human thinks to lead us. You have had the power. For mere hours we have carried our crystals for centuries. I do not want to lead." Jake said, "I want to unite us. There is a difference." Unity 7 spoke in binary that Jake understood perfectly. "Your transformation is anomalous. You should not have survived a prime crystal. You are too young as a species. Maybe that is exactly why I did survive." Jake replied, "Our youth means we have not become set in our ways. We still believe in impossible things." The chamber suddenly filled with more beings as word spread that all 4 prime crystal holders were present. The hive sent a cluster of their linked consciousness. The aquatics arrived in mobile water spheres. Even more Altarians materialized, including several high commanders who outranked Zephyr. "This is unprecedented," a hive cluster spoke in unison. "Never have 4 prime holders gathered." Where are the other three? Jake asked. Prism dimmed slightly. One is lost in deep space, searching for the origin of the Void Hunters. One refuses to leave their homeworld, and one has been silent for 50 years. Then we work with what we have, Jake said. But first you need to understand something about humans, and why I might be the key to stopping the Void. Hunter's scorchwing settled on a platform that groaned under his weight. Speak then, human. Amuse us with your wisdom. Jake smiled and began to project his thoughts using the hive gift so everyone could see. He showed them Earth, its cities, its people, its problems and potential. He showed them human history, both, the darkness and the light, wars and peace, destruction and creation, hate and love. We are contradictions. Jake said, we are capable of terrible things and wonderful things often in the same day. We are not the strongest, or the smartest, or the oldest, but we are the most adaptable. So you claim unity. 7 said. Jake turned to Bernie. Tell them what you were and what you are. Now Bernie rolled forward and spoke clearly. I was a simple repair robot, basic programming, minimal awareness. Jake gave me consciousness, not through technology alone, but through compassion. He saw potential in me that should not have existed. Jake then reached out with his combined gifts, touching the minds of everyone in the chamber, gently showing them what he could see. Each species had incredible strengths but also critical weaknesses. The Altarians were wise but inflexible. The Draconids were powerful but prideful. The Mechanoids were logical but lacked intuition. The Crystallines were harmonious but passive. The Aquatics were adaptable but isolated. The Hive was unified but struggled with individuality. And humans, Jake continued, are chaotic but creative. We see connections others miss because we do not have thousands of years of tradition telling us what is impossible. New presence entered the chamber and Jake felt power beyond anything he had encountered before. An ancient Altarian walked in, but this was no ordinary being. This was Eldest Prime, the first to ever bond with a crystal, 3,000 years ago, so the prophecy finally makes sense, Eldest Prime said in a voice like ancient wind. The bridge between worlds was never about one person. It was about one species that could understand all others. Jake bowed respectfully. You have been waiting for us. Not waiting, Eldest Prime corrected. Preparing the builders left the 7 crystals for the 7 species, but they knew only one could unite them all. The youngest, the most flexible, the most hopeful. An alarm suddenly echoed through the station and every screen showed the same terrifying image. A section of space was going dark. Stars were disappearing one by one, consumed by shadows that moved with purpose. The Void Hunters. Scorchwing roared. They are closer than we thought. How long do we have, Jake? Asked Unity 7, calculated rapidly. At their current rate, they will reach the first inhabited world in 7 days. Jake felt the fear in the room, but also something else, a willingness to fight, a desire to protect. The 7 species might argue and disagree, but they all valued life. I have a plan, Jake said, but it will require all of us to work together in ways we never have before. Prism chimed skeptically. What could a human know that we do not? Jake walked to the center of the chamber and let his power flow freely. His form shifted, showing aspects of all 7 species while remaining fundamentally human. I know how to be all of you at once. I know how to combine our strengths and eliminate our weaknesses. I know how to make us more than the sum of our parts. Luna stepped forward. My father and I have seen what Jake can do. He redirected space itself to protect our ship. He gave consciousness to a machine. He survived a transformation that should have killed him. Zephyr added his authority. To her words, I have lived for 500 years and fought in countless battles. What this human did in one day exceeds anything I have seen. Eldest Prime raised a hand for silence. Show us your plan. Young human. Jake closed his eyes and reached out. With all his gifts, he connected to the station, to every ship, to every mind present. He shared his vision not with words but with pure understanding. They would not fight the Void Hunters with weapons. They would not try to destroy them. That had been tried before and failed. Instead, they would transform them just as Jake had been transformed. They would take the hunger of the void and give it purpose. turn destruction into creation, turn darkness into a new kind of light. But it would require all 7 prime crystal holders working as one. It would require the entire council fleet acting in perfect harmony. It would require sacrifice and trust between species that had barely tolerated each other for millennia, and at the center of it all would be Jake, the impossible human who could be all things at once. "This is insane," Scorchwing said, but there was excitement in his voice. This could actually work. Unity. 7 ran probability calculations. The chances of success are 17%, but the chances of success with conventional weapons are 0%. "I will go to my homeworld." Prism said, "I will convince the 5th holder to join us." "I will search for the 6th. Scorchwing declared, "My kind can cover vast distances quickly, eldest." Prime smiled, "And I will wake the 7th. They have been sleeping, waiting for this moment." Jake felt hope building in the room, spreading like a wave. Each species representative began making plans, coordinating in ways they never had before. The humans. Gift was already working, bringing them together through sheer audacity. Bernie connected to the station's communications array. "I am transmitting the plan to all council worlds. Everyone will know what we are attempting." "Good," Jake said. "No secrets. No division. We face this as one galaxy, or we fall separately." Over the next 6 days, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled. Ships from all 7 species gathered at the border of inhabited space, where they would make their stand. The 7 prime crystal holders were united for the first time in history, each bringing their unique perspective and power. Jake stood on the bridge of the new flagship, a vessel created by all 7 species. Working together, Bernie was fully integrated into its systems. Luna stood beside him with her dragons, and even Zephyr had requested to serve under Jake's command. The Void Hunters appeared exactly when predicted, a wave of darkness that devoured light itself. They were hungry shadows given form, tendrils of oblivion reaching for life to consume. Jake felt no fear, only determination. He reached out to the other 6 crystal holders, their minds linking across space. He felt their power flow through him and his flow through them. They were 7, but they were one. "Be brave," Jake said to the entire fleet. "Today we do the impossible." He raised his hands and 7 streams of light erupted from the crystal holders, converging on the Void Hunters. The darkness writhed and fought, but the light was not trying to destroy it. It was trying to change it, to give it new purpose.